Welcome to Flip Lesson 105 for the 6th grade. We're once again going back to this picture of these, ratio boxes, fraction boxes, equivalent boxes. There's so many different ways to look at this picture, but we've just been playing around with different ideas, working with ratios, working with this complete fraction to help us understand how to fill in the missing blanks. And this time we're doing the same thing, except for now we're using proportions to help us solve percent problems. And so our setup looks very similar to the things we've done already, right? So in this scenario, we have, a store has 20% fish and 80% birds, right? Or maybe you want to talk about a zoo or something like that. Lots of different situations. And so as we look at this, we can see that, our total is always going to be 100% because that's complete, 100%. So if there are 20% fish and the birds are 80%, I'm going to have 100% as a total. And so from here, I want to figure out what I'm missing, right? And to do that, right, I'm going to plug into this idea, the same idea of, right, this proportions, right? So if I have a 20% here, right, and a total of 80, right, 20% is that, right, and that's going to equal 100%, right, and we want to know what 100% is going to be. And so this is one way we can start by solving this problem. Then, of course, all we need to do now is solve to get our answer, right? And because our ideas are staying the same, we can say, okay, what is 20% or 20 times what equals 100, right? And that's going to be 5. And so we can look at it this way also. Excuse me. And we're going to get an answer of 400. Now, to figure out our last box, we can do one of two different things, right? We can either find, cross multiply, and figure out what 80% is, or we can just do some subtraction here and take the 400 and minus the 80, and we should get an answer of 320. Right? Now, another way to look at these problems is sometimes instead of the relationship being like this, sometimes we're going to take the relationship like this. You can take the 20% over the 100%, and it's going to equal the 80. Whoops, one too many zeros there. 80 over our unknown. But as we're going to see, it's going to be the same answer, right? 20, we're going to multiply by 4. Here we're going to multiply by 4, and we're going to get an answer of 400 again. So we know we're doing this correct, even though we might set it up one of two different ways. The key idea there is that you're keeping things in line with each other, right? This is in line. This is in line, right? These two go together so they can be in line. These two go together so they can be in line. So there are a couple different ways you can do different lines, all right? Let's try another problem, all right? Around this area, we definitely have some fans and some different teams. And for this problem, we're going to talk about the fact that 75% of the students here are Seahawks fans, while only 25% are Green Bay fans. All right. Now, if there were 300 fans, the question would be, what are our total, and how many then are Green Bay Packer fans? Right. Now, this one is dealing with some numbers that you're more familiar with, and so you might think of some other creative ways to solve this problem, but let's use our proportions to work this out. First of all, let's figure out how many Green Bay Packer fans there are. So I can start this, and I can really take my 25 and I can put it over my 75, right? And that's going to equal this idea, right? So that's one way I could set it up. Now, as I look at this, you might not see the relationship right away as you're looking at this idea, right? And so you might have to cross multiply and then divide. We're going to do it that way just to remind us how to do that, right? So 25 times 300 is going to be that number right there. And then 75 times our unknown, I'm going to put an x in there, is going to be 75x then. And so basically we're looking at 7,500 equal to 75 times what? Right? And that's going to very quickly give us an answer of 100. Right? And that's just taking this number here and dividing by 75 if you're not quite sure how we came to that answer. And so here we get an answer of 100, and then we know by adding those two together we're going to get our total, and we can double check our work if we need to and see that because we now know that the relationship between 75 and 300, if you recognized it earlier, you would recognize that it's times 4. And so if we take times 4 here, you get a 400. So you have both those processes available to you. All right, then here's one more sample problem to get you on your way as you think about using proportions to help solve percentage problems. That's Flip Lesson 105.